Hi Ryan, this is Tushar. Welcome to India today. I'm very
Hi.
curious to know, do you remember the first time you ever read about a dragon or saw one in real life while growing up or reading a storybook? When was it?
I mean, my first that's a good question. I would guess it's probably The Hobbit and Smaug would be
Oh yes.
my guess because I read The Hobbit for the first time when I was probably like 9 or 10. That's definitely the one that stands out to me because that was always the dragon that I had in my head when I thought about literary dragons. Uh, and yeah, that's that's the most famous dragon of them all, right? So that's a good one to start with.
Tell me what's the one character, because when you write, when you're sitting down to write, right, and then there is, it's not the pressure, but it's just that you have so much to play with. Where do you draw the squares and how do you concise and how do you tell yourself that I need to kind of tell myself, or I need to have a line that I need to draw? Do you follow that pattern or do you just go all out in terms of character arc building?
I think the creative process is about going all out and then checking yourself at the end of the day. It's about it's sculpting, right? You take a big block of marble and then you chip away what you don't need. But I mean the rule that we follow in making the show essentially is that this is about this one Targaryen family. It's about Viserys's family, Rhaenyra's side of the family, and Alicent's side of the family. And if you're not telling a story through what we call POV characters or point of view characters that are related to the Targaryen blood, essentially, it's probably not going to be a story that's told, in this show. Those stories are deeply rich and complex, and they make for plenty of screen time and storytelling. So you want to be able to, even though it's a show that has great breadth to it, you want to be able to, you know, hook into these individuals and follow their stories along. And new characters might come into their lives, but
Right.
you're really following Alicent and Rhaenyra and their children through the story as it unfolds.
Tell me, if you had to meet one of the characters for coffee, if you had to pick one character in real life, if you could meet somebody and just discuss life, who do you think you would want to meet?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say Aemond because I want to know I want to know more about him, but I think I would be terrified of
Yes.
sitting down to coffee with Aemond. So I'm going to say Jace because he's such a he's just a good guy. Jace, he's very handsome and he has just a great sort of moral center to him. And I think he's trying to do right and carry on his mother's legacy. And I think Jace is the guy to have coffee with. That you don't have to worry about
Right.
getting stabbed in the eye.
That's true. That's true. You know, I was talking to the cast a while ago and I had to bring up Paddy. I mean, he's such a joy to watch everything that he does. He's absolutely on set. They give me these really, stories about how he is and what he's like. And I did personally miss him. And the fact that I'm going to miss him in season two, do you feel that he lived this time in terms of his character, lived that arc was correct exactly the way it happened? There was no need then to sort of have a longer character arc for him.
Yeah, I mean, Patty's amazing. He's amazing. We cast him. I'm such a huge fan of his, going back to all of his incredible filmography, his comedies and his deep dramas. That's why we picked him when we cast him in season one. And it was a joy to work with him and see him bring that character to life. And I I co-wrote the character, so I thought I knew what I was getting into. But the way Patty brings a dimensionality to it is just it's amazing what he did. And it's a crime that he did not get acknowledged for it in the awards cycle. But I think that's the thing with a character like that is much like the way Ned Stark did in the original series is you have this central character that dies at the end of the first season, but then looms large over every event that follows. And I think even though Viserys is not there on screen and in the story, you feel his presence in everything that's happening from scene to scene, and that speaks to that character and the performance that Patty brought to it.
If I had to ask you, what's the one thing that sets House Targaryen different from the other houses? I mean, there is deceit, there is rivalry, there is love, there is hate, there is content, and there is a lot of internal politics. But I feel that Targaryens are very clear in terms of who they are and what they stand for. Not like the other houses aren't, but they feel more sort of passionate about the fact that these are things that we need to guard. These are things that we need to stand for. What would you talk? What's your take on this?
Well, there is a bit of a fascistic streak to the Targaryen bloodline. I mean, they're taught from birth that we are closer to gods than men. I mean, it's a famous Targaryen edict, and I think that's informed approach to life, and the way that some of them I think chafe against that idea, and others really lean into it. I mean, Damon in particular, Damon does very much believe in the Targaryen motto, closer to gods than to men, and I think you know, in times of peace, I think that can lead to good things, like some of the things that Viserys did. And in times of war, it can be a potential threat and danger. But I think part of the thing that makes this family great is what also leads to their downfall, is when you start looking at yourself as greater than, or better than, or more ordained than the other people around you. It can, you know, pride comes before the fall.
Right. And my final question, we don't have much time, is do we need to watch out for Easter eggs? Are there going to be little clues and perhaps throwback moments to characters from the past, or little hints that we need to stay aware of?
I'm not a big Easter egg guy. I think that's become an overused crutch that a lot of people use in making these prequels, because we're 120 years plus behind the events of Daenerys now, more like
Yeah,
150 years. There aren't any characters to connect to with the original
right.
series, but I think there are historical events and artifacts and objects and stories and histories that connect the two. And I'm certainly interested in that, because you want resonance with the original series, and why are we telling this story, and what, when we leave this story and we meet Daenerys for the first time across the Narrow Sea in season one, how did she get there, and why, you know, why did that all happen, and why does that now hopefully have more meaning than it does when we first saw the original series before, without the context of House of the Dragon? Those are the sorts of things I'm interested in, but I think that's just good dramatic storytelling.
Absolutely. Listen, thank you for House of the Dragon. I can't wait. We are so excited. We are going to binge watch it. There's a whole shenanigan thing planned around it. Thank you for it. It's a
Fantastic.
big hit in India, and absolutely love it.
Oh, thank you. That's great to hear. It's nice to meet you.